China's foreign ministry said the so-called China threat narrative is unfounded and urged Washington to stop using it as a pretext, according to Chinese foreign ministry readouts and state media reports. Ministry spokesperson Guo Jiakun addressed the issue at a regular press briefing in Beijing on Thursday, responding to recent remarks by U.S. President Donald Trump following his meeting with NATO Secretary-General Rutte in Davos. According to the ministry readouts, Guo stated that China opposes baseless accusations and rejects the use of China as an excuse to serve self-interest. The response comes after Trump suggested during discussions with Rutte that negotiations involving Denmark, Greenland, and the United States were aimed at ensuring that Russia and China never gain a foothold in the strategic Arctic territory. At Davos, Trump repeated claims about Russia and China in the Arctic, according to reporting from major outlets covering the forum. Beijing argues the Greenland issue has nothing to do with China and says international law should be upheld, framing U.S. pressure on Denmark as unjustified, according to Chinese government statements. Chinese state media commentary argues the Greenland dispute shows the U.S. is using threat narratives to justify its push, though Western governments reject that characterization. The back and forth reflects broader tensions between Washington and Beijing over how each frames the other's intentions in various regions. According to Chinese foreign ministry statements, Beijing has consistently maintained that it has no territorial ambitions regarding Greenland and that American invocations of Chinese threats serve American interests rather than reflecting genuine security concerns. Guo emphasized during the press briefing that China consistently upholds the principles and purposes of the UN Charter in handling state-to-state relations, according to the ministry readouts. The spokesperson's comments represent Beijing's continued effort to position itself as a defender of established international frameworks at moments when it characterizes American actions as contradicting those frameworks. The Arctic territory, home to approximately 56,000 people primarily of Inuit descent, has become a significant point of tension in transatlantic relations as Trump demands what he has called complete and total acquisition of the island. Trump's Greenland push has generated significant tensions with European allies, particularly Denmark, which maintains sovereignty over the territory. European leaders said they stand with Denmark and warned against tariff coercion, according to reporting on a joint statement by Denmark and several European partners. The situation has exposed what some analysts describe as tensions within NATO, with the alliance leader pressuring a member state to surrender territory while invoking alliance security as justification for that pressure. Putin, for his part, said Greenland's ownership is not Russia's issue when asked about the controversy, according to Reuters. The Russian response, like China's, positions both nations as disengaged from a dispute that Trump has framed as requiring American intervention to counter their supposed threats. According to diplomatic observers cited by international media, the responses from both Moscow and Beijing complicate the narrative that Greenland faces imminent danger from rival powers, though American officials maintain their security assessment. The press briefing also addressed China's position on Trump's Board of Peace initiative, which held a signing ceremony on Thursday at the World Economic Forum in Davos. Although Beijing confirmed it had received an invitation to the Board of Peace, no Chinese representatives attended the signing ceremony, according to Chinese government statements. Guo maintained that the government had already addressed questions regarding the Board of Peace and currently had no additional information to add, suggesting Beijing is maintaining distance from the initiative while avoiding direct confrontation. According to reports from Davos, approximately 35 of the 50 invited nations attended the signing ceremony, with Trump describing the moment as historic and calling the board one of the most important entities ever created in world history. Reuters and other reporting say the draft charter centralizes significant authority in the chair and ties longer membership to a $1 billion contribution. Critics say the structure could sideline the United Nations, where Russia and China maintain veto power on the Security Council. Reports say more than 20 countries signed or signaled participation at the ceremony, largely from the Middle East and Eurasia. Major powers like China and Russia have not publicly committed to the initiative. France, the United Kingdom, Norway, Sweden, and Slovenia publicly rejected joining, according to reporting from Davos. Trump responded to France's refusal by threatening 200% tariffs on French wine and champagne, demonstrating the coercive approach that has characterized his response to nations declining participation. China, India, and Japan received invitations but have not confirmed their participation, according to diplomatic sources cited by international media. Their decisions are considered significant for assessing the board's international standing, given that these three nations represent substantial portions of global population and economic activity. China's decision to send no representatives to the signing ceremony, while maintaining that it has no additional comments, suggests Beijing is taking a cautious approach to an initiative whose implications remain unclear. The press briefing took a notably pointed turn when Guo addressed Trump's comments at the World Economic Forum, calling European nations stupid people for purchasing wind turbines from China. According to Chinese Foreign Ministry readouts, Guo responded with extensive statements highlighting China's position in renewable energy. China has established the world's most comprehensive carbon reduction policy framework and the largest renewable energy system, and actively shares the fruits of its green development. Guo cited statistics regarding China's wind power development that directly responded to Trump's characterization of wind energy as ineffective. According to Reuters reporting on the briefing, Guo said China has ranked first globally in installed wind capacity for many years and highlighted emissions reductions linked to Chinese renewable energy exports. The spokesperson stated that during China's 14th five-year plan period, exports of wind and photovoltaic products cumulatively reduced carbon emissions in other countries by approximately 4.1 billion tons, according to Chinese government figures. Guo and international reporting describe China as the world's top wind market, though comparisons with other regions vary by data set and methodology. The spokesperson stated that China's efforts in addressing climate change and promoting global renewable energy development and application are evident to all, according to the ministry readouts. The response positions China as a leader in addressing global challenges while characterizing American criticism as politically motivated rather than reflecting energy market realities. Trump's Davos address had characterized renewable energy policies as the Green New Scam and claimed that the more windmills a country has, the more money that country loses. He specifically stated that China manufactures wind turbines but does not use them domestically, a claim that Chinese officials dispute. According to the Foreign Ministry response, China maintains substantial domestic wind power deployment in addition to its export manufacturing, though the exact comparative figures require independent verification across different energy databases. The exchange highlights what Chinese officials describe as contradictions in American criticism of Chinese industrial policy. Chinese state media commentary argues that the United States simultaneously accuses China of unfair competition in renewable energy while characterizing renewable energy itself as ineffective. Whether this represents logical inconsistency or reflects different aspects of American policy concerns depends on perspective. But the rhetorical contrast between Trump's dismissal of wind power and China's promotion of its renewable energy leadership is notable. Trump also used his Davos address to signal his intent to sign the crypto market structure bill, which he described as aimed at preventing China from becoming the crypto capital of the world. Guo addressed this topic as well, noting, according to the ministry readouts, that China has consistently engaged in multilateral and bilateral monetary and financial cooperation, participated in global macroeconomic policy coordination, and contributed to the formulation of international financial rules. On the specific crypto legislation, Guo suggested that journalists inquire with relevant Chinese authorities for detailed responses, according to the ministry readouts. The measured response maintains China's position of engaging with international financial systems while avoiding direct confrontation on specific American policy initiatives. China's approach to cryptocurrency has differed from American approaches, with Beijing implementing restrictions on crypto trading while developing its own central bank digital currency, according to reporting on Chinese financial policy. The press briefing also addressed escalating tensions between China and the Philippines regarding maritime disputes in the South China Sea. According to Chinese Foreign Ministry readouts, Guo delivered pointed criticism of the Philippine Coast Guard spokesperson, stating that China had already expressed its solemn position on the matter. Guo announced that the Director General of the Department of Asian Affairs of the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs summoned the Philippine Ambassador to China to lodge a solemn representation on this matter once again. Guo's criticism of the Philippines was notably direct, according to the ministry readouts. The spokesperson stated that the Philippine side has long condoned and tacitly approved the spokesperson of the Philippine Coast Guard to stir up issues concerning China and maritime affairs, incite confrontation, mislead public opinion, and even recklessly make absurd remarks directly attacking and smearing China. This is unacceptable to China, according to the official transcript of the briefing. The spokesperson continued with a warning, according to the readouts. China once again urges the Philippines to immediately take effective measures to eliminate the adverse impact and refrain from allowing individuals to continue provoking incidents and acting recklessly. This is to avoid disrupting normal diplomatic communication between the two sides and causing greater harm to China-Philippines relations. The statement represents an escalation in rhetoric that reflects ongoing tensions over disputed territories where multiple nations claim overlapping maritime zones. The South China Sea disputes have persisted for years, with multiple nations claiming overlapping territories rich in fishing resources and potential energy reserves. Regional analysts and reporting describe Manila-Washington security cooperation as deepening, while Beijing portrays it as provocative. Both sides dispute the other's framing of the situation, with the Philippines and the United States characterizing their cooperation as defensive and China characterizing it as destabilizing to regional peace. The disputes involve complex historical claims, international law interpretations, and strategic interests that resist simple resolution. China claims extensive areas based on historical presence, while the Philippines and other nations cite the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea and a 2016 international tribunal ruling that rejected many Chinese claims. The United States has increased naval presence in the region and expanded security cooperation with regional partners, which China characterizes as interference in Asian affairs, according to Chinese government statements. The press briefing touched briefly on other matters, including the month-long vacancy of the Japanese consul general position in Chongqing. Guo stated simply that China is handling the relevant matters in accordance with procedures, according to the ministry readouts, without elaborating on the diplomatic situation. The vacancy reflects broader dynamics in China-Japan relations that have persisted despite significant economic ties between the two nations, with periodic tensions over historical issues and territorial disputes. Guo also expressed condolences regarding a shopping center fire in Pakistan that killed over 60 people. According to the ministry readouts, China has taken note of this unfortunate incident. We express our deepest condolences to the victims, extend our sincere sympathies to their families and the injured, and wish the injured a speedy recovery. The statement reflects standard diplomatic protocol while highlighting China's relationships across Asia and its practice of acknowledging significant events in partner countries. Returning to the Greenland controversy, the broader context reveals ongoing disagreement about threat assessments and territorial claims in the Arctic region. Chinese foreign ministry statements argue that Beijing has no territorial ambitions regarding Greenland and that American security claims about Chinese threats in the region are unfounded. The United States maintains that Arctic security requires addressing potential challenges from multiple directions, including Chinese investment and research activities in the region, according to American government statements. The disagreement reflects what some analysts describe as fundamentally different perspectives on international security and the role of major powers. According to Chinese government statements, Beijing views American Greenland demands as an example of using manufactured threats to justify policies that serve narrow national interests. According to American government statements, Washington views Arctic security as a legitimate concern that requires proactive measures, including engagement with Denmark about Greenland's defense posture. The Board of Peace Initiative, while receiving limited comment from Chinese officials, has generated significant international attention and debate. According to reporting from Davos, the board was originally presented as a mechanism for Gaza reconstruction oversight, but the draft charter does not mention Gaza specifically, suggesting its scope may expand to address broader international conflicts. Trump declared, according to reporting, that once fully formed, the board can essentially do whatever we choose, a statement that has raised questions about the initiative's ultimate direction. The structure has drawn both participation and criticism. Secretary of State Marco Rubio characterized the initiative not just as a board of peace, but as a board of action, suggesting active intervention in conflicts beyond passive oversight, according to reporting from Davos. Critics argue the structure could marginalize existing international institutions, while supporters contend it provides a more effective mechanism for addressing conflicts that existing institutions have failed to resolve. Putin said Russia is still studying the proposal when asked about the Board of Peace invitation. According to Russian government readouts and Reuters reporting, Russia proposed contributing $1 billion from frozen Russian assets as the buy-in for potential participation, according to Reuters. The suggestion that Russia might use frozen assets held in Western financial institutions has generated debate about the legal and practical implications of such an arrangement, with Western officials questioning whether Russia can direct assets frozen under sanctions regimes. The inclusion of both Russia as a potential participant and Ukraine as a conflict the board might address has raised questions about how the structure would manage competing interests. Ukrainian President Zelensky questioned how Ukraine can participate in a board of peace that also includes Russia, his adversary in ongoing conflict, according to reporting from Davos. Trump did not directly address this tension in his public remarks about the initiative. France rejected participation, with officials stating that the scheme exceeds the mandate of Gaza reconstruction endorsed by the United Nations and is incompatible with France's international commitments, according to reporting on French government statements. French officials emphasized France's permanent membership on the UN Security Council as creating obligations incompatible with participation in alternative structures that might marginalize United Nations processes. The contrast between American approaches and Chinese rhetoric on international institutions is notable in this context. While Trump creates new structures with concentrated authority, China emphasizes adherence to existing frameworks like the UN Charter, according to Chinese government statements. Whether this positioning reflects genuine commitment to multilateral institutions or serves Chinese interests by preserving veto power in existing structures depends on perspective, but the rhetorical difference is clear and consistent across multiple issue areas. The Greenland situation encapsulates broader tensions in international relations as traditional alliance structures face pressure and new configurations emerge. American demands for territorial arrangements with a NATO ally, justified by invocations of threats from Russia and China that both nations deny, have generated significant transatlantic debate. European diplomatic sources have expressed concern about the precedent and approach, while American officials maintain the security justification for their position, according to reporting on the diplomatic exchanges. China's consistent messaging through the foreign ministry briefing that the China threat narrative is unfounded and that Greenland has nothing to do with Chinese interests represents Beijing's effort to contest the framing that positions China as a threat requiring American response. Whether this messaging resonates with international audiences assessing American claims remains to be seen, but Beijing clearly intends to challenge narratives that it characterizes as pretexts for American policy preferences, according to Chinese government commentary. The press briefing covered multiple fronts in current international tensions, revealing China's coordinated response across different issue areas. On Greenland, Beijing rejects the threat narrative while emphasizing international law. On the Board of Peace, China maintains distance without direct confrontation. On renewable energy, China disputes American characterizations with data about its wind power sector. On the Philippines, China escalates diplomatic pressure regarding South China Sea disputes. Each response reflects positioning designed to advance Chinese interests while challenging American narratives, according to analysis of Chinese diplomatic communications. For international observers, Thursday's exchange reveals the complexity of current great power dynamics. The United States under Trump pursues territorial discussions and new institutional structures. China responds by emphasizing existing international law and institutions. Russia positions itself strategically while keeping options open on various initiatives. European allies navigate between competing approaches with varying degrees of success in maintaining their own positions, according to reporting on the diplomatic situation. The coming weeks will reveal how these various threads develop. Whether Chinese caution toward the Board of Peace reflects permanent rejection or strategic delay depends on how the initiative evolves and what terms might be negotiable. China, India, and Japan, three nations whose participation would significantly affect the board's international standing, have all received invitations without confirming participation, according to diplomatic sources. Their eventual decisions may influence whether Trump's initiative achieves broader recognition or remains primarily a vehicle for nations already aligned with American preferences. The Greenland controversy shows no immediate signs of resolution. Trump continues expressing interest in acquisition, Denmark continues maintaining sovereignty, and European partners continue expressing solidarity with Copenhagen, according to reporting on the situation. China and Russia continue denying the threat narrative that American officials have invoked in connection with Greenland discussions. The people of Greenland continue expressing their own views on their future, though their voice often receives less attention in international coverage focused on major power dynamics. China's message from Thursday's press briefing was clear and consistent with previous foreign ministry statements. The China threat narrative regarding Greenland is unfounded, and using China as an excuse to serve self-interest is rejected by Beijing. The foreign ministry's response covered multiple issues while maintaining consistent themes about international law, institutional frameworks, and Chinese contributions to global challenges like climate change. The renewable energy exchange between Trump's Davos remarks and China's foreign ministry response highlights the different perspectives on energy policy that characterize current U.S.-China relations. Trump characterized wind energy as a scam and European purchasers of Chinese wind equipment as foolish. China responded with data about its renewable energy sector and climate contributions. The factual claims on both sides warrant independent verification, but the rhetorical contrast reflects broader disagreements about energy transition and industrial policy. The Board of Peace, meanwhile, begins its existence with significant participation from Middle Eastern and Eurasian nations, but notable absences among major global powers. Whether it becomes a significant force in international affairs depends on factors that remain unclear. Its actual operations, how it handles the conflicts it has identified as priorities, and whether additional nations choose to participate over time. The initiative represents Trump's approach to international problem solving, which favors new structures under American leadership over working within existing multilateral frameworks where American influence faces more constraints. And for China, the Thursday press briefing represented an opportunity to contest multiple American narratives simultaneously while positioning Beijing as a responsible international actor committed to established frameworks. Whether this positioning reflects genuine Chinese policy priorities or strategic communication designed to exploit American overreach in various areas, the messaging was consistent and coordinated across different issue areas. The foreign ministry's responses on Greenland, the Board of Peace, renewable energy, and regional disputes all reflected similar themes about international law, factual accuracy, and rejection of what China characterizes as pretextual accusations. The international system continues to evolve amid these competing approaches and narratives. Traditional alliance structures face pressure from internal disagreements as well as external challenges. New configurations emerge through initiatives like the Board of Peace, whose ultimate significance remains uncertain, and major powers, including the United States, China, and Russia, pursue their interests through various means while characterizing each other's actions in unflattering terms. Thursday's press briefing in Beijing offered one window into how China approaches this complex environment. The foreign ministry's responses were measured in some areas and pointed in others, reflecting the different stakes and dynamics across various issues. The Greenland response emphasized rejection of threat narratives. The Board of Peace response emphasized caution without confrontation. The renewable energy response emphasized Chinese achievements and contributions. The Philippines' response emphasized warnings and escalated pressure. Together, they reveal a diplomatic approach that adapts its tone to specific circumstances while maintaining consistent underlying themes about Chinese interests and perspectives on international order.